Hello, welcome to this video. In this video we are going to create a plugin which is going to make ChatGPT to speak us. Alright, so let's going to see the plugin in action. Once we have loaded the plugin, we can send a message and we will get the speech.
Hello, how can I assist you today?
Yeah, that's how the plugin works. So let's gonna dive in the code. Okay, the first thing that we have to create is an API. So we can communicate with this API, and the function of this API is to communicate with 11 Lab service. So what we are going to make here is to convert the text to speech. As you know, 11 Lab service is one of the most popular text-to-speech services, so we are going to use it in order to make our interactions more fluid with ChatGPT. Okay, the first thing that we have to do is to create a script which is going to initiate our service. Here we are using Flask for our server and this is the unique route that we are going to make that is going to convert the text to an audio file. The first thing that we do is to get the data and specifically the message that we sent from the plugin. After that, we remove all the HTML tags that could be in the message, and we convert the text to a response which contains the audio that we are going to reproduce in our plugin. Alright, let's gonna check it out. This function. Here we have the main function. This line contains the APK. So if you don't know where you can find an APK, it's very easy. The unique thing that you have to do is to create an account in 11 Labs. After that, you click in your profile and there you will see your APK. So you replace yours in this section. And after that, we use the API from 11 Labs. We send the text and the APK. So once we make the response, we will get the content, that is the audio, and we are going to encode it in base64. So we are going to be able to send that information through a JSON. And that's it. The backend is very simple. So let's go and check it out on front end. Alright, let's going to start with the manifest JSON. That is the most important file in our plugin, because here is where we are going to define the ubication of all the files that we are going to use. For example, the pop-up is the HTML that we are going to see when we click in the extension. Here, this content is what we have defined in our index HTML. Don't worry, this file actually it's not necessary because the main functionality is in our content and in our background. So let's going to delete this file that it's not necessary. So those are the necessary files. Alright, let's go and check what is in our content.js. In our content.js, what we do is to add the listeners for when we send the message to ChatGPT. And what this listener does is to wait 6 seconds before scanning the document, the DOM. Once we scan the DOM, what we look for is the last message. And the last message, as you can see, is the response that we got from ChatGPT. Alright, so once we got the response from ChatGPT, we send that response to our plugin. Remember, this content.js is running in the scope of the frontend of ChatGPT. So here we couldn't send our request to our backend, because if we send the request from here to our backend, the security policies that the frontend of ChatGPT has specified, it's going to block our request. So what we have to do is to send that message to one script that is out of the scope of the frontend of ChatGPT. So we are going to send that message to the scope of our plugin. And where is defined the script that is going to run in the scope of our plugin? It is going to run in the background.js. So here in the background.js, we are going to add a listener for the message. So once we receive a message, we are gonna check if that message contains data, as we have specified here. We send an object which has data, and the value is the last message. Alright, so if we got data that is the last message, what we are going to do is to make another object for sending a request. So what we have here is something like this. If you are familiar with JavaScript, you will know that this part is exactly the same that is here. Obviously, instead of this, we have the custom message that we have received from ChatGPT. Alright, so that's the structure of our object. Once we have the request data, we are going to convert it to a string, so we are going to be able to send that information through fetch. That is an API to send data to our backend. Alright, so once we send this request, we are going to get the response here. Alright, so we convert it to JSON and we get data.audio, that is the audio data that is encoded in base64. So we are going to use this function in order to decode it, and once we have decoded our audio, we can reproduce it in the browser. These lines are the ones that are going to reproduce our audio. This is all the code required. Alright, so far we have our server and the code of our server and the code of our plugin. To initiate our server, the unique thing that we have to do is to run the next command. Alright, so once you start your server with this command, you will be able to send requests to this route. Okay, once you have initiated your server, what we are going to do is to add our extension, so our browser. We are gonna click in add-ons and themes. We click in configuration and go to debug add-ons. Click here, you select the manifest and check it out. It's going to load the plugin. Once the plugin is loading and running, what we are going to do is to click here and we are going to go to the configuration of the plugin, and we are going to allow that this plugin runs always. So once we have allowed that, we can test our plugin. Alright, thanks. And
You're welcome. If you have any questions or need assistance with anything, feel free to ask. I'm here to help.
alright, so this is everything for the video of today. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask, let the comments below, and I will try to answer as soon as I can. So thank you so much for listening.